One of the other wonderful things about building these hierarchies of different game objects is that we're able to attach functionality to the most high-level parent and have everything else follow and behave alongside of it. We're going to be learning about a new component called a character controller. So over in the inspector, click Add Component and search up Character Controller and add one. And we'll be exploring what this particular piece of functionality does and what it looks like in its basic form in this video. The first thing that you want to make sure you have enabled is in the top part of your scene view, there's this button called Gizmos. Make sure that's turned on so that you see these kind of outlined shapes of your parent and controller here, because there's some information in this that we need to be able to work with and see properly. Now, I noticed that in mine, I have some interesting information in the wrong spot way over here. So there's something going on that's really interesting in terms of my actual player controller. This strange behavior is the result of something that we did in the previous video that I wanted to have happen because it's going to occur to you, well, it's going to happen to you fairly often, depending on how careful you are when you initially build your hierarchies. The problem is that when we built our empty game object for the player and attached the body and other parts to it, they weren't in the same relative position on the screen, which means that now it considers the center point or the starting point of our player to be quite a bit of a different spot than the relative position to our other game components. So I need to fix this and repair it, which we're going to do now. To do so, I'm going to take my player and I'm going to reset its position back to 0, 0, 0. And now I see that my body and head and all the other components are floating off in a weird place. What I'm going to do with these is take all of these and I'm just going to move them manually. This is probably the easiest way for now. And try to place them right where that initial spot was of my actual main player model there. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to go back to this player model, and remember it's right here in the center point. Let's take all the components again and relatively position them back alongside this so that now things line up properly and things are now in order where everything should line up. I should be seeing this kind of strange, I guess, what do you call this thing? Like it's one of these, a capsule spread around the body, although this one seems to be quite a bit too large and maybe a little bit offset of my player's body. So I'm going to just take my player's body components, move them slightly forward to be fully centered on this to see that capsule surrounding it on all sides. Now let's take a look a bit more at the character controller itself and get a sense of what's happening here. The character controller is a wonderful system built into Unity that helps us build controllable characters, taking some shortcuts. It actually does limit us in certain ways that you might find not helpful in the type of game that you make, but for this type of prototype experience that we're making, and potentially for the type of game that you want to create, this could be more than sufficient for the type of mechanics that you're looking for. Slope limit determines the angle of slope that your character will be allowed to walk up. Step offset determines how tall steps can be for you to walk up staircases. The bigger this number is, the larger the steps you'll be able to walk up. Skin width determines a little bit about the distance between different types of meshes. We won't talk about that in great detail for now. And the min move distance determines how far the character is able to move with a certain key press. So the higher number this is, it might make it a little bit more, well, efficient processing wise, but a bit more jagged. We usually don't touch this number at all. The center determines the center of this strange capsule. And we always want to have this 0, 0, 0, at least for now. The radius determines how wide this is. We always want it to be roughly exactly the width of this character. That should be pretty much right on the money there. And the height determines exactly how tall this is. And we want to try to constrain it just around the actual height of this actual player. So in this case, I notice that as I adjust the height, it's going to extend it to the ground a little bit. So I actually need to move the center of this capsule a little bit higher so that this bottom part is roughly with the height maybe a little bit less at the feet and on the top of the head. And I've got it pretty close there. This is going to make our mechanics behave themselves a little bit more nicely. And I just realized that my actual player itself could probably be lifted a little bit higher above the ground. And now we see this capsule extending slightly under the ground. I'll lift mine up a little bit more as well. so that it's right there. I'm okay with it being a little bit above the head, not a huge deal for me. And I just want to get that player perfectly centered in here, so I'm going to shift it a little bit that way. I think that looks a little bit tighter to my capsule. One more time. Shift that over. And there we go. Pretty happy with how that's snugly right inside the capsule, just like so. And so now we have the basic framework of our character controller laid out for our character. We have our gizmos active so we can see this type of layout. Now, if you want to kind of declutter your screen, feel free to turn off your gizmos while you're working with other systems. I tend to leave mine on, however. And I'd like to show us one more thing under Edit Project Settings. Under here, we have a tab called the Input Manager. Unity has built into it a system of automatically interfacing with different types of input systems, whether that be a keyboard and mouse, or a game controller, a joystick, or something different. And it labels the interactions with these different systems using different types of common mechanics. Horizontal axes, vertical axes, different fires, so left and right mouse buttons, the mouse X, so horizontal, mouse Y, vertical, and different ones down below that we'll use a bit less often for now. But basically, horizontal means, well, if we look inside of it, the negative button moving left, in other words, is the left key, and the positive is the right key. Or alternatively, A and D. Or alternatively, the X-axis on a gamepad. So we have the ability, just by referencing horizontal, to get input from many different sources all at once, which allows our game to have many different control schemes with one set of code. Vertical, well, up and down, S and W, or X-axis on the gamepad. And now actually, oh here, X-axis is showing it for both of these. Oh, because the gamepad sends it in a bit of a different way. But keyboard for now, yeah, we got everything that we need to have set up here. Now think about the jump button. The most common jump button is space. And then we have this other motion and stuff from the joysticks that could be gathered from a gamepad, and it's called jump. This means that you can actually change this. If you want your game to have jump be Q, you could change this to be Q here instead. I'm going to keep mine as space, but we just need to know here that we have lots of different types of basic control interactions that we can customize here, but we also just want to know the naming of things because we're going to integrate them into how we create some character control, which we're going to dive into a little bit in the next video.